Hi and welcome to my playhouse, and today I have my friend Jonas here and we're going to be promoting our new short film. It's a short submarine film that we have produced, made, and it's over at our film company's YouTube channel, which is called Lone Tower Visuals. Link in the description. It's down there. Yeah. Me and Jonas has been making films for years and years on an end.
It's going on 20 or something.
Yeah, 20.
It's gotta be getting close to that. It's scary.
It has been a long time. We have made many films, like 2 feature films.
3.
Three.
Well, if you count
2.5.
2.5 features, and I was
Multiple.
counting. I think we've got 7 or 8 shorts.
And some music videos.
Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of stuff actually.
Some weird birthday movies, films, things.
Oh, yeah?
That thing wasn't our finest moment, but yeah. And we have made this Submarine movie that is currently available in the link below. And yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about that to kind of promote it so that you would go watch it. I have shown films from the filming of the film, which you saw last year. This we did the actual filming last year in September.
October.
But we were at the submarine a couple of times to check out the location, go forth and back in the submarine, see how it was to work in, some camera testing, lighting equipment testing.
Yeah.
All
sorts
of stuff.
Generally figuring out how to get a crew and a camera and cast and all that stuff into a submarine, which looks very big from the outside, but certainly isn't once you get in it.
It's not built. It's not built for comfort.
No, and if you haven't noticed, I'm pretty tall, so I hit my head a lot. Morten less probably.
Yeah, we just figured out the chairs here. If I have my chair upright and Jonas has his leaned back, we're about the same height. So camera trick. So this short film started by Jonas calling me up at work, telling me that he had a brilliant idea. This happens every second week or so.
Yeah, and basically the idea was that we'd been allowed to shoot in a submarine, which is currently in a museum in Denmark. And then we sort of had to figure out a story and all that from there, because we had this amazing opportunity to actually shoot there. But the submarine being on land as it is, and in the middle of a big museum, there were no real way to shoot it from the outside. So what we did was we shot all of the interior stuff on location, which is most of the movie, but then we have a few key shots from the outside where it's got to be sailing through the water and stuff. It's sort of like Hunt for Red October thing, and we did all of that with some CGI, which is my other life, which is what I'm doing when we're not doing this.
And we're gonna go and have a look at that in just a little bit. Yeah, so the idea came out of that you had gotten permission to film at a submarine, and then we went up and saw the submarine, and I did actually film some of that. Yeah. And we just stood there and thought, we have this submarine, what can we do? And we had to come up with a story within those parameters of the submarine, which is, it's not a new way for us to think like that.
Well, I think when you gotta come up with an idea for something, whatever it might be, if it's a creative thing, it's usually you gotta start with one little corner or the other, and sometimes it can be a character, sometimes it's a location, sometimes it's some other kind of an idea. But no matter what you do, you always sort of start with some little bit of the story, and then you have to work out from there, and you sort of assume that the rest of the story is there for you to discover, and you just have to dig and find it. So that was a long process afterwards.
Yeah.
And doing the script from that.
We often come up with these ideas, like putting ourselves in that box and saying then we have to figure out something to do with this box and don't stick out too much. Because filming can be a really hard task, and a big location or many locations, a lot of people, it's just too much. We both have daytime jobs, so we can't do this full time, so we have to limit it to something that we can manage, and that's where the submarine, and also we have had other locations.
Yeah,
castle.
But it's kind of the idea of building from a limitation. So you start out with what the movie can be, and because if you just set out to we'll make a film sometime next year, and it could be anything, you have to start out with saying basically what it isn't. So this is a movie that takes place in a submarine, and that's sort of what you build from then.
Yeah.
Because if you can do anything, then you haven't really gotten it. Then you have no idea really. So you have to limit yourself in a way, and that's a good way of doing something creative within reasonable budgets and time constraints, like we do.
Yeah, and we are pretty good at making a lot of movies.
From very little of any of those. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't spend a lot of money on filming, and a lot of this comes from here in Denmark. We can do a lot of things for free, like borrowing a submarine at a museum, or when you turn up with a film crew, well, they think it's exciting and want to help and want to be part of it, so we could do that. Actually, the guy that helped us in Aalborg, where the submarine is the executive mayor?
I'm not sure what it is. It's a vice mayor.
Vice mayor, so pretty high level guy in that city. So that was cool having, and he was very helpful, serving us coffee all the time. We have made films for many years. I met Jonas in youth school, I think is the very bad Danish translation of that.
Long time ago.
Yeah, and I just happened to have a video editing system at the time, and you and your buddy had a film that you wanted to edit, and so that's how we met. And then we have been making films of increasing quality ever since.
But I'm sure that your faithful subscribers have all seen them.
Or
else there is a unique opportunity to do it.
Links in the description. We have made a Western film in Aarhus. We have made
zombie films of different varieties. Actually, I think there are 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, we have a very popular zombie film called Mother's Day. Over 500,000 views on that one. Until YouTube decided that it was not average. What was it?
I think they lowered the age limit.
Yeah,
so that only
don't
people over
advertise
a
it to
certain
kids
age
anymore.
could see it.
So,
which was
like it had a really nice curve and then went downhill, but it still gets good views. So that was cool.
So Morten has asked me to do a short demonstration of some of the VFX in our short film Ekko, which you can see here. And I thought we would just take a single clip and have a look at it. So this we've got here is the opening sequence of the film, where we see the submarine for the first time coming out of the darkness of the water towards us. We can just have a look at it here quickly. So as you can see here, the boat is coming out of the murky water of the Baltic Sea, which is close to Denmark. And it's got sort of it's very inspired by movies such as Hunt for Red October and stuff like that. It's a very nice shot. I'm very proud of this, and obviously it's got a lot of, this is a completely digital shot, and I'll give you a look at how it works to do that. First off, to do something like this, it's a 3D effect, which means that we need a 3D model of the ship and some animation going on with that. And for that we use 3D Studio Max, which is an old piece of software that's been around for ages, that I'm very efficient at. But I have a friend who's really good at doing 3D models. His name is Morten. And what I did was I went and took a bunch of photos of the actual boat in the museum, and I gave them to him, and he made that all into a 3D model that he painfully put together. Okay, so what you can see here is that we've got a fairly detailed 3D model of the boat itself. I can sort of rotate around and shoot from any angle I want. And it's got a lot of little details and stuff going here. It's got you can see the hatch here, and it's got the antenna and the stuff on top of it and all that. So it's a very detailed 3D model. It took him a long time to do it. And what I can then do is I do animation of it. I can move it however I want inside the 3D space here. I can turn it around or anything like that. You've probably seen this a lot in any movie behind the scenes stuff. And once I set up the final animation, you can see you've got here a sort of a rough preview of what happens. This is more like a game engine or something like that sort of allows me to do the animation but without seeing the final look of it. You can see there's propellers going around here, and if we enable it here, we'll get the bubbles coming off the propellers as well. You see the bubbles, they've been simulated physically from the propeller going around. You can see they sort of emit little bubbles as it goes along here. And this is all the framework for what we'll do then, is that we'll render it into a final image that looks good, obviously. So we'll put textures on it and basically do 1 pixel at a time rendering to make it look cool, and we'll see how that goes. So as you can see here, the resolution is 3200 pixels by about 1300. That's not quite 4K. We do shoot our films in 4K on a red camera, but because of the sensor and the optics in a physical camera, that doesn't really add up to a full 4K resolution. What we do here is we save a bit of rendering time by going a little smaller on the very crisp and perfect images that come out of a 3D ray trace renderer like this one, and then we scale that up and it matches the shots from the camera a little better. But it's still a pretty high resolution to work in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and try and start a rendering of a single frame just right here in the middle of the sequence where the boat is good and close. This takes a little while just to start it up here. Okay, here it goes. You can see first it's going to do some pre-calculations, and then it starts doing the actual image. Not strictly speaking 1 pixel at a time, does what we call a bucket. It's one of these little squares here, the white ones. And in a renderer like this, 1 square equals 1 CPU core. And this is being done remotely on my own computer at home. You can see here I've got 6 cores on 12 threads. It's an AMD processor. It's a Ryzen 5 1600X, if anybody's interested in that. And you can see it's using the CPU pretty good. It's actually doing 100% on all cores right now, so it's getting good and warm back home. But you can also see that this is going to take a while. Now it's estimating right now that it's going to be about 7 minutes. It's probably going to be closer to 12 or 15 once it's actually done. We're not going to be waiting around for that. But you can see the problem here, and if you're paying attention, you'll also see that the timeline we're rendering here is pretty long. This is about 500 frames worth of animation that we have to do just for this single shot, and the movie does contain, I don't know, 10 VFX shots like this. So you can do the math, it's going to take a while, which is where Morten's servers comes in.
Okay, and this is where it helps to have a lot of servers. So I did a previous video where I showed how we optimized on this using virtual machines as render servers. So what we did was I took a physical server and I divided it up into how many cores it has. The hyper-threading doesn't really give you much when the CPUs are being used 100%. So a ordinary server that has 2 quad-core CPUs in it, well, I could put 2 virtual machines with each 4 cores on that, and that would give me the best performance when we're doing like 1,000 frames. Well, even cutting off a few seconds will actually help the overall time, because that's 1,000 times a few seconds, and it helps. There is also, I didn't want to make the virtual machines too small, because then I would have a lot of maintenance producing those virtual machines, setting up IP numbers and stuff. So I think we were using about 3 or 4.
We started out making 4, and then after a week or 2 I called you up and had you made 4 more. So
we had 8 virtual machines with each 4 cores working on this project. and it took about a week to render this.
I think they ran 100% for a little over a week, all 8 of them. So that's a lot of juice.
And that was about the time when I played around with water cooling my data center, because
it was also around the time when the sun came out and the summer really started in Denmark, and we've had a heat wave since then.
Yeah, it was really, really bad timing.
Yeah.
But well, it helps to have a lot of servers when you're gonna render out heavy stuff like that.
So once all the rendering is done on all the servers, we go ahead and do what's called the final compositing. This is something that not a lot of people know about necessarily, but you take the rendered images and you finalize it in a compositing program. What I use for that is Adobe After Effects, which is where my real specialty is, and I'll show you real quick how we do that. Okay, so this is Adobe After Effects, and what we do is we bring in what's called the render elements, or the passes from the rendering, which is basically like this. We have the main element of this shot is the fog of the water, which basically is that the water isn't really transparent. It's a lot of particles, which creates these shadows that fall through. But you can see there's no actual model in this. There's no actual boat here. It's only the shadow and the fog. Then we start adding other stuff to that. We do a little bit of grading on it. We change the colors a little bit to what we like better. And then we start adding in the different layers. This is the reflection. You can see when I turn this on and off, you get sort of the first look at the shape of the boat, how it transforms the lights from the surface. And then you put in some specular highlights here. This is basically reflections of the light source. And I do another pass at that. This is a small detail, but you see we sort of do, you can see it better if I turn it on and off here. Right there, it sort of blurs out the light a little bit, makes it a little bit more imperfect, which is a lot of what we do here. Is we take these very perfect, pristine images of the 3D renderer and we trash them and make them look a little bit more like stuff that would have been shot with a camera on the water. Then the big thing is we add in the gunk in the water. Should come around some here, right here. Right there, you can see all these little specks and stuff. It's like plankton or whatever kind of goo that floats around in the water around the boat. And this is a particle system that gets generated inside of After Effects. It's not actually a 3D Max thing. It's a virtual thing. We do bring in the camera from 3D Max, and then we add these particles and have them react to the way the camera moves and the way the boat moves and stuff like that. And this all happens in the compositing program because it's a lot faster to work like this. And you can do a lot of changes a lot quicker than you can if you have to do it in 3D and then change it around. And this all, you can see this still takes a little while. If I move around here, it'll do some thinking for it. It's nowhere near the kind of rendering time we did have in 3ds Max, and once we want to get it out of here, we will do it in just one computer. But it brings us back to the final shot, which is still here. And you can see here the boat coming out just like that, and you can see all the plankton moving here and all the little pieces of gunk floating around, and you can still see the shadows are here and all the stuff that we did, and this is how it all comes together.
And everything that is not perfect is just, well, we turn up the music. It just makes the music louder. So that's how we have been rendering and making the 3D effects for this short film. Links in the description.
Yes, do watch it, please.
We always have some projects in the making. So Jonas, you get to tell us about what we are doing.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of a plug for the next one. Yeah. Okay, so we basically.
Yeah, that's kind of the show.
Yeah, outside, great.
My idea.
So, as Morten said in the beginning, we've made a lot of short films over the years, and next we want to do something bigger probably. So right now we're looking into making a feature film.
Again.
Yeah, again, but this is going to be a bigger one. This is going to be the best one ever. It's going to be a kidnapping thriller set in the trunk of a car, which sounds weird in itself.
Limiting the film again.
Exactly, it's about the limitations of it. It's about working creatively from very heavy constraints in this case, that if you have a whole film with the camera and the main protagonist never actually leave the trunk, well, I'm not going to tell you if they do at the end, but that makes it a challenge, so to speak. So it's going to be tight and dark, and it's going to have a lot of sound design issues, but it's also going to be something that can be made for a very small amount of money and still look really good.
In a short time for not too much money.
Yeah, basically because we don't have a lot of locations and stuff, it's going to be a studio shoot for the most part.
We need a big trunk.
Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger trunk.
Gonna need a bigger trunk. Probably have to make that trunk. We probably can't use a real car, because when you're making something like that, you want to put the camera in weird places. So
yeah, you're gonna want to have the possibility of taking off the sides one at a time, and probably shaking the whole thing and
trunk
stuff
puzzle.
like that. Yeah.
So, yeah. That's gonna.
Anyway, so look forward to that.
And link is in the description, so please go watch our new Submarine movie. It's called Ekko.
Yeah.
And English subtitles are available, Danish subtitles as well. If you want to make some new subtitles for us, we are not fluent in Italian or Spanish or
Finnish or Swedish.
Finnish or Swedish.
Yeah, German. German could be nice, yeah.
We could probably make German subtitles, but well, I'm sure you guys would be a lot better to make our German subtitles, and well, you get credited for making subtitles. So if you make some subtitles, you will get credits for them. So, and this is Jonas, he's the director of Ekko, and I was the producer. So thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a nice day. Bye bye.